Well, since we're on the topic of football, let's go ahead to the top college football teams. You want to go ahead, Mark?
Yeah, so Alabama's still holding strong right there at the top of the list. They had pretty solid 2 weeks of play, as well as Florida State and Clemson still hanging in there. I will mention, though, as you all probably saw, Clemson had a tough little battle there with Troy, that's for sure. But Ohio State and Michigan rounding out the top 5 through week 2. Some interesting play across the board as we saw through week 1 with some scares for some teams.
Yeah.
I believe what was the other one? Oklahoma State took a fall this weekend too. So kind of some thoughts there.
Also Oklahoma too.
Oklahoma.
They lost as well.
Alabama and Michigan, they really killing teams this year. I think they might be in the championship this year. Alabama and Michigan. I was real shocked on the Clemson game yesterday. I thought it was going to be a blowout, but it wasn't. Ohio State, they haven't really showed me anything. My favorite team, LSU, they took an L the first game. But yeah, overall, I think Alabama and Michigan, top 2 teams in the nation right now.
I think, I think Alabama is the best team right now so far. Granted, they're ranked number 51 in offense and ranked number 14 in defense, but you can just tell how dominant they are when they're playing. They're just a lot bigger, faster, and honestly, it's not even fair to their opponents. I will say, Ohio State, even though they actually have dominated, but I guess the competition pool wasn't as high as people would like, so people don't want to give them as much credit. But they are ranked number 4 in offense and ranked number 26 in defense. So that shows that they are pretty efficient at what they do.
Also watch out for Louisville.
Louisville as well. Actually, Louisville's the number 1 offense in the country.
Yep.
Really good.
Sitting there right there after week 2 at 10th. Jumping a little bit down the list, though, into kind of those 20th positions there, right at the bottom of the board. Tough weekend for me personally, being an Oregon fan and a UVA fan, had that little matchup, but Oregon pulled that one out. Wouldn't have been too upset either way. As well as another thriller that we had this weekend, the Arkansas-TCU game in double overtime. Arkansas pulling through with a touchdown from about 5 yards out there to finish out the second overtime. So tough loss for TCU on that.
I do have a question. How do y'all feel about the team that were ranked very high and won games, but they still dropped? Like, I think one of the teams were
Tennessee was one.
Tennessee was one.
They struggled with Appalachian State.
In Georgia, and I think did North Carolina win? I don't think North Carolina won.
Yeah, to say Georgia, I think looking at this here, Georgia took the biggest fall from the week. They went from ranked number 9 after the first week there. And they were down to 13th, like you mentioned though. They did take a win, as well as one other school on there. Again, just kind of, it's tough because you think, well, they got the win, but they struggled quite a bit. One that kind of jumps into that category. They're unranked right now, but Arizona had a big fight against Grambling. They were down 21-3 at the half. So I saw some headlines looking around that when it comes time for the BCS games, and you look at schools like Alabama who handled their business, or a school like Clemson who might not have handled their business so well at the start here. Is that going to make an impact? If Clemson's looking at the 4 or 5 seed, something like that later on. So it's a good question.
I think that's really unfair the way they actually rank teams and stuff. Because in basketball, if you win, you win.
Yeah.
You stay where you need to go. I feel like it's kind of unfair that just because everybody's going to struggle every now and then. You're not going to dominate and beat everybody by 100 points. So is that fair that that team drops just because they had a little hiccup during the game, but they finally persevered at the end?
Well, perfect example, like your team Tennessee, against App, they struggled, but yesterday.
Yep, handled business against Virginia Tech. So it'll be interesting, kind of when obviously it's week 2, but for the college level of play here, you definitely see, like you mentioned, when it gets down to the Final Four, you're really looking at teams with no losses, teams with 1 losses, and if you're at 2 losses, you're not really going to be considered for the Final Four here. So.
And strength of schedule is definitely another issue. And right now, the SEC is still ranked the #1 conference in the country, and the Big Ten is actually #2. And you have Michigan and Ohio State in the Big Ten. So that just shows you the level of competition that they would have to play against. Well, talking about dominating teams in college football, we also going to talk about a very dominant team in baseball called the Chicago Cubs. You have an opinion about the Chicago Cubs, man?
Yeah, actually, they're the first team to 90 wins, and but right behind them are the Texans, who are at 85.
So definitely, the team following that, I believe, I can't remember who they are right now, but they are at 82 wins. So they have a pretty hardy lead over things.
It's the Rangers. They're right ahead of the Rangers, the Texas Rangers.
There we go. So on the AL side of things, looking in towards the playoffs, because I know a lot of Cubs fans, this could be their year. This could be your year. So, you're pushing 90 wins at this point. Looking on the AL side of things real quick, though, you got Boston, Cleveland, and Texas leading each of their specific divisions right now. Tight wild card race on the AL side with Toronto and Baltimore holding in the first 2 spots right now, and Detroit and the Yankees, who are both 1 game back at the moment. On the NL side of things, you got Washington, the Cubs, obviously, and the Dodgers, who are holding their own at the top of their divisions, with San Francisco and St. Louis right behind in the wild card, holding at the top right now, as well as the Mets, who are half game back, so definitely a close one there. And then they have a pretty hardy lead over the Miami Marlins, who are 5.5 games back. So definitely a tighter race, much more on the AL side, but and a little bit more dominating competition on the NL side. So.
Yeah, I think they have a really good shot at the World Series this year. They're actually ranked #3 in batting in the league right now, and they actually have Chris Bryant. He's tied for first with the most home runs out of everybody with 27 home runs, and they actually have the #1 pitching team in the league as well. They have 3 pitchers that's in the top 7. You got Kyle Hendricks ranked #1, John Lester #3, and Jake Arrieta at #7. That just shows you how dominant they are on the pitching team. And they also have only 476 runs throughout the whole year, which is 56 runs less than anyone else. So it's going to be tough for people to actually score on the Chicago Cubs.
That'll do it when you're dominating in a couple categories across the board there.
Yeah, but as far as them winning the World Series, honestly, I don't think it's going to happen. Just think about it. Just from others, even though it's not the same sport, think about it. Warriors, they made history too, regular season. The Panthers, they had the best record. And look what happened to them in the championships. Yep. They both lost. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting.
There's always the pressure getting to them.
Yeah.
And that could always happen.
And this is just a fun fact. They were actually the first team to win back-to-back championships, and they won in 1907 and 1908. And the last time they won a World Series was in 1945. So I think they're going to be pretty motivated this year to actually try to take one of those championships.
Absolutely. But on the flip side of things, however, as we get excited about our sports teams, we do have a few national disasters that have come through lately that we'll kind of like to talk about a little bit. Obviously, some major flooding through the Louisiana region, as well as Hurricane Hermione, who went ahead and came through the Florida Gulf Coast area. So.
Yeah, this was a very sad and devastating topic, and I feel for all the people in Florida. This actually was the first official hurricane, since Hurricane Wilma in 2005. And it's caused so many power outages. It cut off 95,000 people from their electricity throughout the Tallahassee area. And I can only imagine what they're going through down in the South.
But the government is planning to process a $2 billion package for the damage. So that should really help the people down there and help them get back to a regular life.
But as we know how quickly Congress moves around here, they are going to be taking a break here at the end of September for about a month and a half. So I'm definitely hoping that government can kind of put all their political aspects aside and kind of come together to make sure that they get some money down there, get some disaster relief fund going before it's another month and a half before they even decide whether or not they can send anything down there. So.
Wow.
Yeah, like I always wondered, like, how come they never had like houses or places built down there, like built for like hurricanes and like disaster weather, like Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, what other states are down there? Texas even. I always wondered how come they never had like houses or like stuff built for like bad weather down there, because it happens every summer.
They probably actually do. It's just sometimes the weather is just too powerful, because, I mean, there's only so much you can do. You can try to build a wall or try to build like a barrier around the house, but, I mean, sometimes if you have a hurricane with all the winds and it throws a truck in the air and it hits the house, I mean, there's only so much you can do, you know? So.
Yeah, even going up with, building a beach house, after no matter what, it's at a certain point not going to hold up to everything. So.
All right, well, that's it for our first segment of McRae Center. We hope you all have a great night, and tune in for our next segment.